Okay, today we are going to talk about adding fractions. So I'm going to go ahead and write some. So I'm going to write a mixed number, 1 and 3/5, and I want to add 2 and 1/2. Okay, so one chant that I've always said when I think about adding and subtracting fractions is that you want to add the numerator, denominator stays the same. So add the numerator, and that works for subtracting too. You can say subtract the numerator, denominator stays the same. But I want you to think about why that is. The denominator, okay, and we talk about this all the time, is what it's cut into, right? So if, pretend this is pizza, this is cut into fifths. Well, let's do something easier. Let's just pretend 2/4. Okay, if we have 2/4 plus 1/4, and pretend that's pizza. If you have 2 out of 4 and you add in 1 out of 4, well, now you've got 3 out of 4. So it kind of makes sense that the denominator stays the same because it's still cut into 4 slices, into 4 pieces. You had 2, you have another, and now together that makes 3. Okay, and it's still cut into that 4 parts. So that makes sense, but then when we look at this, we notice, but the denominators are not the same here. So we have some steps that we need, okay? Our first step is actually going to be to convert these are mixed numbers. We want to make them improper fractions. Okay, so just a reminder of how to do that, because that was a lesson we had before that you can always watch that movie. But to convert, we went swirly. And remember that we followed M-A-D. First we multiply, so 1 times 5 is 5. Then we add, so far 1 times 5 is 5. And add 3, 6, 7, 8. So our numerator is 8. So we multiplied, we add, and now we think about the denominator. What was it cut into? It was cut into fifths, so I'm keeping it fifths. Okay, so we converted from mixed number to an improper fraction. And let's go ahead and do that over here. Swirly. Okay, and again, mad. So first we multiply, 2 times 2 is 4, then we add, 4 plus 1 is 5, and then we think about the denominator. So 5, and it was cut into seconds. Okay, so convert to improper, check. Okay, we made these mixed numbers into improper fractions. When it's bigger on the topper, it must be improper. Okay, our next step to add these up is to find the same denominators. And again, this is another lesson that we did before. So we want to add these still, but in order to add them, we need the same denominators, find the multiples. Same denominators, find the multiples. What kind of multiples? Least common multiples. So let's go ahead and look at the multiples of 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20. Let's look at the multiples of 2. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I want the same denominators, find the multiples. What kind of multiples? Least common multiples. The smallest one, the least or the smallest one they have in common. Ooh, that's a 10. Hey, the least common multiple becomes the least common denominator. Or another way to say that is the new denominator. That tells me 10 is the new denominator. Okay, so wait, that means I have to make 8/5 have a denominator of 10 and 5/2 have a denominator of 10. I can do that. This is equivalent fractions, okay? So now I've got to make the same denominator. So how do I make a denominator of 5 into a denominator of 10? Well, how do you get from 5 to 10? Hey, 5 times 2. Give the same thing to the top. 8 times 2 is 16. Okay, now let's do it here. How do I get from a 2 to have a denominator of a 10? 2 times 5. Let's do the same thing. Keep it fair. 5 times 5 is 25. So now, instead of adding 8/5 plus 5 over 2, I'm adding 16/10 plus 25/10. So it's been renamed. I officially have the same denominators. Okay, so I can ignore these. I've made equivalent fractions that have the same denominators. Check. Okay, step 3. Now, I'm going to make this step nice and quick. Add. Okay, 16/10 plus 16/10 plus 25/10. Now I can finally go back to my chant. Add the numerator, denominator stays the same. So look, if I add the numerator, okay, 16 plus 25. And if you need to do that on the side, that's fine. So I've got 16/10 plus 25/10. Okay? So denominator stays the same. Well, that part's easy. And now 16 plus 25. If I want to do it on the side, that's totally fine. 6 plus 5 is 11. 2, 3, 4. So 41. So 41/10 technically is my answer. I added them. And this was the solution I got when I did. The only thing is, and this is the final step, so I added, check. But now I want to convert back. This is improper. Now I want to convert back to a mixed number. After all, we want it to be proper, not improper. Okay? And to do that, remember, our answer technically is 41/10. But what does that really mean? Hey, that means 41 divided by 10. And you can even look at it like long division. 41 divided by 10. Does 10 go into 4? No. Does 10 go into 41? Yeah. 10, 20, 30, 40. 10 goes into 40 4 times. And that is 40. Subtract, you get 1. So remember, our answer is 4 with 1 left over. So how do we write that? We say it's 4 whole times with 1 left over, and it's still cut into tenths. So boys and girls, this is our full solution. Okay, so if I go back, the answer to this is 4 1/10. Now, I want to point out that in our brains, we want to ask ourselves, whenever we get a solution, you want to ask yourself in your brain, is this reasonable? And really what you're saying is, does this seem right? that 1 and a little bit more plus 2 and a little bit more is 4 and a little bit more. Well, this is 2.5, and that is 1, but it's almost close to 2. So 1 plus 2 is 3, plus a little bit more is like 4 and change. That seems about right, okay? So don't just write your answer and move on. Really always think, is this answer reasonable? Okay, so here you have it, some steps. You always want to make it improper. You want to make them have the same denominators. You can add, and then you want to make sure you put it back so that at the end, when everything's done, that it is proper and it is a regular mixed number. Okay, so we will be practicing this skill and the old skills that we've learned.